Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm Jennifer Jaco DeVries, the Executive Director here at the Crossing Arts, and I'm so happy to be here tonight with Laura Ruprecht, our mosaic artist from the St. Cloud area. We've worked with her the last couple of years for some classes and kids camps and stuff, and this has been in the works for more than a year now.
Yes.
So we are thrilled to have her here, and thank you all for joining us here for an artist talk and reception with Laura. And we'll get started here with some questions. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Who is the bravest one to go with questions? Because otherwise I can just start talking too, and that's okay. Does anyone have like any burning questions at this moment?
I'm reminded of church stained glass windows and liturgical kind of artwork. Is there any connection there between, especially the heron with the almost looks like a cross coming out of his beak?
Yeah, very good observation. So there is some similarities. So obviously all of these mosaics are made from stained glass. And so we sometimes like to associate stained glass with church windows or anything that's religious. And I'm sure that you can also see too that a common theme that's kind of going on in each one is some type of animal. And I have a huge heart for animals. They're one of my favorite things. And if I wasn't going to be an artist in high school, I was going to be a veterinarian or something to do with animals. And obviously that didn't go that way. Too much science. And I was great at science, but it was just kind of like, no, I don't think I can dissect something. That's a little gross to me. But there is like a kind of, I guess today I kind of just realized that, let me just back up a little bit. So how many here are artists? Can you raise your hand just to see? Okay. So I'm sure we all kind of have the same phenomenon when we are creating, and after we've created something, you kind of learn something new about your piece, and it's ever evolving. Does that happen to some of you? Yeah, okay, cool. And that kind of happened to me today when I was preparing for my talk and a little bit of what I wanted to talk about. And it dawned on me today that each one of these are a self-portrait almost, because I'm trying to tell a certain type of story about an experience I have had and having that related to a type of animal that is always recurring in my life. And so when I think about, a lot of the questions I get too is like, Laura, why the halo? And I think for me, it kind of represents my soul and the animal, and it's always circular, and so it's kind of that life and death type of occurrence. And so, just like with a mosaic, you take something that's like already together, and then you kind of break it apart, you manipulate it, and then you find a renewed life into it. And so that's kind of the process with a lot of these too, is, it starts out with a sheet of stained glass, and it's broken apart and it's put together. And that's kind of why I like mosaics though too, is that whole metaphor of that, one piece alone isn't going to really make that much significance until you put a bunch of pieces together. And yeah, that's kind of that religious, I guess, maybe aspect of it. And it just kind of comes off that way too, just because it is stained glass maybe. That was a really long-winded answer, but there you go.
Laura, you said something about being in high school and thinking about either being in the sciences or being an artist.
Yeah.
Well, can you talk a little bit about your journey from maybe that point to how you found mosaic, or
Sure.
And then a little bit about your
Absolutely.
art background?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I graduated from St. Benedict, the College of St. Benedict in St. Joe, and I graduated with an art degree and with an emphasis in painting. So I'm an actual painter at heart. And what I did, this was just like kind of walking down memory lane today when I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna say tonight? But I guess when I was at St. Ben's, when I was, getting my bachelor's, I did a lot of portraiture, and even then it was really weird that a lot of my paintings even were kind of fractured. I really loved, doing a portrait, but each canvas was a different depiction of either the face, the body, or something, and then putting them together, and then it was one complete whole. And little did I know that I continued doing that into doing mosaics too. So it was just like a complete thing that I loved doing. And so from the College of St. Benedict's, then I ended up working at the Paramount Center for the Arts in St. Cloud for a really long time. I would say it was over 10 years. And then while I was there, the Paramount was commissioned a few public art pieces that involved mosaics. And so I was an apprentice artist on a lot of those projects. And when I started doing those projects, I was like, oh man, like it clicked. It really clicked for me doing the glass, because one of the things or challenges that I had as a painter was doing color mixing, but I felt like I was still really good at, you know, finding colors that worked well together. So the color mixing was a challenge, but the colors really, like the color theory I understood was like really easy for me. So doing those projects were really great, and from there, like, kind of did some odd and end things. And then in 2020, we all know what happened in 2020. It was either like super crappy for everybody, or it was like maybe beneficial. And for me, I was very fortunate that it was beneficial, because I was like, see you later job, and went off and did my own thing. So here we are 5 years later, and I'm still a full-time artist and making a living off of what it is that I do. Good question.
Can you talk a little bit about being a full-time artist and that journey?
Yeah,
Going
for sure.
from jobby to...
Of course, it's not easy. I mean, are there any other full-time artists that are here? Yeah, you know it's not easy, right? And sometimes well, come on, it's not easy. And like, I guess depending on, you know, one of the things that I've learned is that there are so many different types of artists, and not just into the medium realm. Like, yes, there are lots of different artworks and mediums to work with, but I guess as far as like my artistry is like, you know, there are artists who, you know, tend to do art fairs, and there are artists who are Instagram, and and social media, and they get all of their revenue from social media, and like, you know, there's so many different avenues you can go down. And I think what clicked for me was like, when I was in college, I wanted to be an art teacher, and I was going through the whole motions, and it wasn't until I studied abroad and I was like, I am not doing that anymore. And it was so fun, because it actually became full circle. I ended up being an educator anyways, in a completely different way that works best for me. And so I do teach a lot of classes, and the most joy that I find is when I can make my own pieces, and that is very, very a tiny, tiny amount of what it is that I get to do. And so that's why, you know, grant writing is really huge for me, and where I get a lot of my funding. And so that's this exhibit, I must say too, is helping. What helped me was both regional grants and the state arts board grants, to help me just focus on time to create these, because otherwise I'm teaching too much, or I'm making other people's work that's not my own, so a lot of commissions, or I'm also doing a lot of public art work and community work. And so it's a lot of trying to balance everything and still enjoy what it is that you love to do.
Sounds like there's a mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, It's not just doing this and selling it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of the questions, and I think, you know, sometimes when I say I'm an artist, people are like, so then what do you do? Or like, and I think what they mean by that is like, how do you make money? And it's kind of like, well, you get creative, you know, you figure it out, you know, you do the hustle, it's okay. You know, you make your own, and that's okay, right? Yeah. Any other questions?
So these arts, these pieces in particular, are they made to hang on the wall, or
Yes.
are they're not windows, they're not?
Correct.
Have you thought about backlighting some of your work?
Very good question. Yes.
Like that was the first thing I saw when I walked in.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
So that would be so dreamy if that could actually happen. But when I started doing mosaics, I was doing glass on glass mosaics, meaning that I was taking my stained glass, gluing it onto more of a clear glass, and then there we go. There was the challenge, was how do I get light diffused from it, especially in a gallery setting, because I didn't want cords hanging from it. I didn't want LEDs. I didn't want batteries. I didn't want all these things. And so that's a really difficult thing to try to think of. And then on top of it, when I was doing this, I wasn't full-time. I was like, this was my hobby. And so when I kind of steered away from glass on glass mosaics, because there have been a few, since I travel with my pieces so much, that like the fragility of those were terrible. Like grout was like popping out of it because it has nothing to stick to. I had pieces fall off the wall or got bumped and then shattered, and there's no way for me to fix those. So it was more like, I need to make a decision. I didn't know the longevity of them. These I know will last for a very, 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 very long time because of the materials that they're used with. With the glass on glass, I don't think that they could have really worked. So to answer your question, I did already do, like I did that first and then I went into this. And so they look heavy, but who hung the show? Was it Emily? Was it you, Amber?
Amber and I.
Oh,
they
so
were not super heavy, no.
no,
Except for
so
the front piece, but like otherwise.
yeah, the front piece, probably the wolf and crane, was probably the beastly of them all, but yeah, the rest of them are relatively light, like at least under 10 pounds for sure. Just pretty crazy. Yes.
Yeah, like given that you work with glass, it seems to me as somebody who's never worked with glass, like a much less forgiving medium than like paint, for example.
Mhm.
I'd love to hear about like how you deal with mistakes or things shattering or just like working with an inherently fragile material.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think practice. It's been a lot of practice. I mean, that's just what it means to be an artist anyways, is to practice what it is that you do. And so a lot of my practice, because these are time consuming to create, a lot of my practice came from doing pet portrait commissions. And so it and doing like little 6x6 things, like little things. I love working big because I feel like I can just express more, but doing those little like tiny 6x6 little guys and doing the pet portrait commissions really, really helped me practice on a lot of those, like how to cut the glass, how each type of glass is a little different and tends to break a little differently. You know, what do I want to be a completely solid piece? What do I want to be, you know, what I know won't cut and break the way that I want it to? And so how do I create my patterns to make sure that I'm guaranteed a good cut? Or a lot of times it's like, oh, let's please make it through, especially when I'm doing my bandsaw. And because I have a bandsaw in my studio, which is basically like what you would use to cut wood, but it's diamond bit and circular, and it runs through water. And so for an example, I think when I was doing, oh my goodness, the beaver. So this solid piece that's right here, when I was doing that solid piece.
Show. Oh my goodness, the beaver.
Well, yes, okay. So that solid piece was kind of like very, very nerve-wracking because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't have much glass left. I don't want to go run and buy more. This has to get done in one shot. And when it happened, I was like, okay, I gotta go walk away for a second. This is just amazing that this happened. And that's like that for some of like the solid circular ones, because I'm just like getting more and more confident in cutting them and making sure that they're just right and there's not enough gap, like a huge gap in between like my subject and then that circle, you know? Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you order glass in big sheets from a glass catalog?
No, I mean, I'm very fortunate that in St. Cloud, if you do want to get into mosaics or stained glass or anything like that, I get all of my glass, which is only a mile away, not even a mile away, from Michael's Stained Glass Studio. And it's this husband and wife. They they distribute glass from South America up to, St. Cloud and vice versa. And I get all my glass from him for the most part. And if I am trying to find something that I can't find at his shop, then I will order online. But it's just like if there are any quilters here, you know that like you need to see the fabric in front of you. Just like with glass, you need to see, you can't judge it off of a picture online because you have to see it. And because I do make a lot of my color choices, like that's very important to me is my color choices. I need to see it in person just to see how it jives with others, you know? Yeah.
You talked about a lot of the pieces sort of represent like what did you say, a biography? Or
Yeah, like an autobiographical
Yeah.
thing. Mhm.
So do they represent or signify to you encounters you've had with these creatures? And if so, could you talk a little bit about that?
Of course, yes. So, when I was in my early 20s, I took a spirit animal class, and you know, just kind of trying stuff that's new and different, and you just like, I just wanted to learn more about it. And I didn't realize that from my early 20s until now that I was like, I still take to heart a lot of what I learned from that class. And one of the things that I learned from that class is to be observational and to really pay attention to, you know, if there is an animal that constantly is repeating coming into your life or that you're constantly seeing, you know, pay attention to that. And so I've always done that. And when I do that and then I look up and kind of either study the behavior of the animal or maybe the symbolicism of it or anything like that, it's so parallel to what's going on in my life. So one of the examples would be the swans. Like I did do a series of endangered bird species in Minnesota, but then I didn't realize that also the bird species would be pertaining to some areas in my life. But with the swans, so during that time when I was creating or wanting to create this one, my dad was kind of going through some health issues and we realized he wasn't coming home anymore or couldn't live at home anymore, so he had to go to a nursing home. And so every time I was commuting to and from the nursing home, a flock of swans was always following me. And I was like, I wonder what this means. And it just, for anything, like for any reason, you guys can believe whatever you want, but I take a lot of signs from the universe. And at that time, seeing those swans was just kind of a sense of comfort for me. It was a way to like know that everything's gonna be okay. It sucks right now, but it won't suck so much later. And so it was kind of these, like synchronicities that I have with my dad, and also swans, they tend to mate for life. So it was also this bond that my dad and I have, and the things that he's going through, I'm also going through, and everything, and it's just very pertaining in that entire piece. If anything, the background was very challenging for me because sometimes I don't know with my mosaics, like where I always have the subject figured out, but then when it comes to the backgrounds, I'm like just kind of flying on the seat of my pants. I'm just like, either it's gonna look something that's decorative or it's gonna look like it's natural habitat, like with the prairie chickens. You know, I never know where I wanna take it until I finish that subject and I'm like, okay, where do we go from here?
Do you usually block in the subject first and then work around it, or are you sketching and planning? So
Kind of all of it. So, I mean, the last piece that I did was that northern flicker down there. And with that one, I was just like, I felt like I needed to make one more piece before this exhibit. And I was like, what can I do that I can make somewhat sort of quick? And so that one I really planned and already had a vision for it. And I wanted to copy something as far as like, you know, I really love Egyptian art. I think it's really cool. And also, again, that death rebirth type of thing. And so with the northern flicker, I was kind of trying to mimic like a scarab, you know, if you ever see something like that. And so I was looking at a lot of reference pictures to ancient Egypt and the scarab and like the death rebirth type of thing. And so I knew exactly I wanted to have circles. I wanted to have something where, you know, if you ever seen the scarab, it kind of like has that ray thing coming up, the wings and everything. And so I knew my vision for that one, but I think the hardest one for me to know the background was probably either the swans or the beaver, because with the beaver I had a completely different concept. I didn't think I was going to do something landscapey, and then when I did, I was like, hey, this turned out kind of cool. It was just different, you know.
Well, it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and
Thank you.
so intricately, perfectly done, and so pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
The theme
it.
is awesome, you know, it's very heartfelt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is it hard to part with any of these? It must be.
Yeah, it is. It really is, especially because they're so far and in between, and when I get to work on them, and especially, you know, since I always had a hard time parting with them if they do sell, but even more so now that I identify that, like, oh, these are like my self-portraits, I guess. And if anything, like, you know, my owl one, it did sell, and after they're here, they're gonna, like, all these pieces will be going to St. Ben's, College of St. Benedict and St. Joe this fall. And after that, then it's See You Later Owl. And that one just really spoke to my heart a lot because, you know, when we think about, when I made that piece, it's a lot about like the behavior of the owl, and that owl tends to, you know, they don't make their own burrows. They usually, you know, occupy a vacant burrow, and then they make their nest in there. And I wanted to depict both the below and the above, so that you could kind of see, expose it, but then at the same time, I think the underlying message to that owl was like, what do we all try to keep hidden and protected that we don't let a lot of people know about or let in? And I think we can all possibly relate to that because we're not all open books, and especially not me. And so that was created at a time and a place for me that really spoke to me, and still kind of does, and it still resonates with me today. And yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time parting with that one for sure, but it's gonna go to someone who also feels that way and enjoys it, you know. So.
Any other questions? Anything we haven't
Said yet? I don't know. I wrote all these notes, and it's just kind of, you guys are just a great audience, so I just really appreciate it. I guess I would like to have a few thanks. I would like to thank you, Jennifer and Emily and Amber, for having me here, because, like, again, it was over a year that we've planned this exhibit, and you guys approached me, and I'm like, hell yes, I'm coming here. And it really just helped me focus to just be able to sit down and create work. And now I can finally say, like, it took me 5 years to create this much work, and I actually made so much more on top of that, but just to make my own, I should be a little bit more proud of myself, because it did take a long time, because I was, again, creating so much for others that I never really spent that time for myself and what I want to do. So for my advice to you artists, find that time, balance it out, do yourself a favor and do it, because you need to kind of satisfy your soul a little bit more. But yeah, I'm excited to keep on moving on with this exhibit, and like I said, go to St. Ben's, and then after that it goes to the Minneapolis airport, and then from there it goes to a few other places. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, we're very proud of you too, Laura.
Oh, thank you.
We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And also thank you to the Central Minnesota Arts Board and the State Arts Board. They are super awesome, and support them too, you know. They make it happen for us artists.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Laura.